Hello and welcome to Inside Devils, brought to you by TalkSPORT BET, who have a welcome offer, by the way. Bet 10 and get £40 in free bets. You head on over to www.talksportbet.com/Inside Devils just for you. They've got loads of markets on there, by the way, one of which is who's the next Premier League manager to get sacked. I can tell you, Amorim has moved up to second in the betting behind Graham Potter at 6-4. I am joined, though, by Alex Crook to discuss that disaster class, that shambolic performance last night against Grimsby. Crookie, where do we start? What did you make of it all?
As you say, absolute shambles, really. Probably one of the most humiliating defeats in Manchester United's modern history, certainly in the Premier League era. I'm old enough to remember when they lost the League Cup tie 3-0 at York City back in the early 90s. Harvey Barnes' dad actually scored a hat-trick for York. It was two-legged then, and in fairness, Sir Alex Ferguson played the reserves in the first game, lost 3-0, brought the big guns back for the return game away from home, lost 3-1. Cantona scored, I seem to recall, in that blue and white kit. Still went out, but they used to release DVDs then, Manchester United, or VHSs, actually, season reviews at the end of every year. And even in their own in-house season review, they put a laughter track over that first leg because it was seen as amusing, because it was such a one-off, and obviously they still went on to have a very good season.
Yeah.
It's not funny in this instance, is it? Because this is another new low, another nadir, if you like, and Manchester United have humiliated themselves on national television. Embarrassing to be 2-0 down, get it back to 2-2. You think they've got out of jail, and then they mess up the penalty shootout. Cunha's penalty was poor. Onana, barring the one save he made, was poor in the shootout, and just about everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And I think there's some iconic images that are going to come back to haunt Ruben Amorim, him with his tactics board, and we've all seen the GIFs on social media this morning of people making it look like he's playing Connect 4 or he's playing Guess Who, him hidden away in the dugout when the penalty shootout was ongoing. I thought was a really bad look for someone who's supposed to be the leader of this football club. And I do wonder if the pressure accelerates now, certainly from the stands. I think the board have put themselves in a situation where they almost have to back their manager because he's spent £200 million this summer. They're building a squad that is moulded to this very rigid system, which I think is a huge part of the problem. And he's being allowed to get rid of players that he doesn't want, the likes of Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho. I think he's going to go to Chelsea for what will end up being a cut price fee, and maybe Kobbie Mainoo as well. But I do wonder if you're part of that hierarchy, the likes of Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada, Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself, do you wake up this morning and think, are we doing the right thing here, letting him get rid of Alejandro Garnacho for a cut price fee? Are we really doing the right thing, giving him the kingdom?
There's 100% Crookie going to be conversations that uncomfortable conversations that are going to be born out of that match. I mean, I'm going to ask you the question. It's a really difficult one. Just a few days ago, I had a massive rant about Amorim's system. I just said, look, it's been rubbish. But if we're going to be real, it's been absolutely terrible since he's come in. He's taken us backwards. We don't need to know, 28 points in 29 games, something terrible like that. He's just emerged, by the way, with TalkSport Bet. He's been second in the betting now to be the next Premier League manager to go at 6-4. That wasn't the case before a ball was kicked. So that just tells you that, the magnitude of this result. But is there anything you can look at in isolation? You mentioned the keeper, you mentioned the system. Where do we look here? How is there still so many things that have gone wrong?
For me, I think it is the system. And I absolutely agree with you. And I alluded to it when I was at Fulham at the weekend. The fact in the second half, we had Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes playing as two number sixes. Kobbie Mainoo still on the bench. That is an absolute disaster class in in-game management for me. And if he is as good a manager as a lot of people still tell me, as people within the game, people at other clubs who looked at hiring him, he has to start showing a bit of tactical flexibility. Why do you need a back three away from home against a League Two side? And then you're bringing on forward players because you're trying to chase the game, but you're still at times playing Mason Mount as a left wing back because you don't want to deviate from this very rigid structure. It just doesn't work for me. You're wasting Amad Diallo as a wing-back. He was played further forward yesterday. Looked very frustrated, but his head must be all over the place. You're not getting Kobbie Mainoo into the team. And again, I thought he was one of the better players. I feared the worst when he stepped up to take a penalty because I thought his brain must be scrambled. He's caused his own problems with the goalkeeper. I don't understand why Altay started the first two games when Onana was fit. Altay is nowhere near good enough to be a Manchester United goalkeeper, never will be. I'm not sure Onana is either, but his confidence has clearly been dented further, so that's a problem all of his own making. We've not even talked about Benjamin Šeško yet. Huge
I know.
money to sign a number 9. You watch the penalty takers one by one walk up to take a spot kick. 10th penalty taker for your number 9.
What do you think that? Why do you think that is, Crookie? Because that is going to be. That's one of the memeable things that has come on the back of last night. I thought that it's not a vote in confidence, is it? Making him your the taker before the keeper. Why would that be the case? What's happened?
I don't get it.
No.
It should be a simple way to get your Manchester United career off and running. You're up against a League Two goalkeeper. No respect to the Grimsby keeper, who was absolutely terrific and obviously partly apologetic because he's a Manchester United fan and said he was fuming after the game, as we all were. He should have been in the first 5. Absolutely no question about that. And I looked at the team that finished the game. I was watching my 2 lads and I said, look, we don't deserve to win this game. It's actually embarrassing if we do get through. But you look at the quality of player out there. We should have 5 players at least who can take a penalty. Onana will probably save 1. He was lucky to do that. And they win the game. The fact they still don't, and Šeško's coming up only ahead of the goalkeeper, is that an Amorim decision? Does that tell you that Šeško's already got confidence and is being worn down by the weight of the shirt? Honestly. And then Cunha and Mbeumo, who have looked bright in the first couple of games of the season, the 2 big money signings, they're the ones who miss a penalty. As I said, everything that could go wrong did. And I fear for this Burnley game now. We cannot lose at home to Burnley. Because you look at the fixtures after the international break. If we lose at home to Burnley, we could be 5 games into this season that we all thought was going to be a bright new dawn. And we could be in the relegation places with 1 point to our name.
Yeah, I was saying to all my mates as well, that Burnley, it's almost the worst team we could have come across. You know, a game after this one, because it feels like it could be a banana skin. That Burnley game, it really does. So I'm going to ask the difficult question since I've got you here, Crookie. If Manchester United, heaven forbid it happens, but let's say we even drop points or worse, lose to Burnley, do uncomfortable conversations have to happen in this international break about Amorim's long-term future? What do you think?
I think they should be. You know, he's been there 9 months. We're not seeing any tangible signs of progress. He's taken fewer points than he's managed Premier League games. At any other club in the Premier League, he would be under pressure. Look at Graham Potter. There are similarities because Potter's top in the betting. Ruben Amorim is second. They've been there a similar amount of time. Potter's made no impact at West Ham. I know for a fact David Sullivan is contemplating making a change. And I think the Manchester United hierarchy should be as well. Now, I'm not advocating for Ruben Amorim to be sacked necessarily because I think United have hired and fired too many managers and it's not made any tangible progress over the last decade or so. But what somebody on that hierarchy should be doing, and I don't know if Jason Wilcox is experienced enough to do this, but they should be knocking on Ruben Amorim's door at Carrington saying, look, you've gone with this system for 9 months. We've given you players to play the system. It's still not working. Change the system. Play a formation to get the best out of this team. Because it didn't matter on Grimsby what system we played. We should be winning that game. The fact we haven't and that the system has hamstrung us, I think is a really bad look on the manager.
I agree. Look, and Amorim's getting a lot of heat here. And I think quite rightly, I must say, I look at that system and since he's walked through the door, everything that's been in front of my eyes, I can't help but criticise him and be concerned. But there'll be corners and pockets of the Man United fan base that will look at the players. And I know there has been. I've been keeping my eye on social media, the comments, etc. People are saying it's the players again that are not playing for Amorim. Now, look, I'm not having that. But how can you excuse some of the terrible performances? I mean, Dorgu wasn't at it. Onana wasn't at it. I mean, the Mbeumo missing the penalty. He's always looked fantastic from the spot. And Cunha, these are ballers. How has this happened? And at what point do we look at the players once again, or do we not do that?
Well, some of the players aren't good enough. You know, you've mentioned them there. Onana, I don't think Dorgu's good enough. And again, he's someone who's being shoehorned into the team because of the system. I do think Mbeumo and Cunha have been bright sparks early in the season. There's some good players there. And we've been down the road of blaming the players. We've said the attitude and the commitment hasn't been good enough. We've blamed the recruitment, which again I think has been better this season. I think Cunha and Mbeumo and hopefully Šeško are all players who improved the squad. So I do think this is more on Amorim and this system. I really do. I think that's why it's going so badly early in the season. Not against Arsenal, that was fine. But again, the people who say this is how far Manchester United have fallen, Roy Keane amongst them, they're celebrating because they only lost 1-0 to Arsenal. Well, they'll be laughing today because since the Arsenal game, they've been poor at Fulham for much of that afternoon last Sunday, and they've been abysmal at Grimsby. So all that early season promise, and we watched the pre-season tour, and we thought, you know what, this looks better. they're running harder, they're fitter, they're getting to grips with what Amorim wants in terms of his formation. That's all gone out the window now. It's about results, and they need a result against Burnley, and they need an emphatic one. They need to go there and really send out a statement to show they're fighting for the manager.
Yeah, exactly. Before we go, Crookie, any danger of a midfielder coming through the door before the transfer window shuts? Because by every passing minute of every single game, that disconnect in midfield just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Cobby could be the answer, but it looks like he's competing with Bruno. Any danger of a signing in midfield?
Well, you do wonder if there might be panic now at board level because they need a goalkeeper. And I'm not sure Sonny Lammers is quite going to cut it. They're inexperienced coming over from Belgium. I think they need a proper number one. Donnarumma is still out there. He's not at the moment agreed anything with Manchester City. Go and get him. Go and get a proper goalkeeper who is worthy of pulling on the Manchester United shirt. And in terms of midfield, I think we've got players within who can play there. Kobbie Mainoo did enough for me to justify a start against Burnley. Change the system, get the best out of Bruno Fernandes. But we do need that midfield enforcer. If they've got the money, test Brighton's resolve. Go and put 120 million down for Baleba. I think it's probably too late. I don't think Brighton are in a rush to sell. But let's at least show the Manchester United fans that they're trying to address the two obvious flaws in the team. That's the goalkeeper and a midfielder.
Oh, wow. I'm with you. And look, it's all eyes on Saturday now against Burnley, isn't it? So we will wait with bated breath, I'm sure, and we'll be reacting to that next week. And if you'd have watched this week's show of Inside Devils, there was, what we thought was a pessimistic Anish saying that this could happen, that this was a possibility. And we all poo-pooed it. We all said no. But listen to what Anish had to say.
Do you remember 2014, the last time that we had to play in the second round and we lost 4-0 to MK Dons?
Yeah, they were League One at the time, I think. Or the Championship.
So, that happened, and I actually looked at the 11 from that game.
Why did you do this? Why?
Angie, this is terrible.
Why bring rhyme and reason? Why do that?
Football nerd, and I was
we
bored.
don't want that here. We don't want sense.
So basically, from that 11, 6 of them never played for United again. 2 of them never started again. And a few left not long after. The only 2 that really continued a decent relationship with the club was Evans and De Gea. That was it. It was, and I really hope that doesn't happen.
That's a hell of a stat.
Grimsby are unbeaten this year.
Wow, there we go. There we have it. Only 2 players had long-term futures after that thrashing to MK Dons, and that's Evans and De Gea. And that's all we have time for. I'm going to say, fortunately, that's all we have time for of this episode of Inside Devils. Don't forget, this is brought to you by TalkSPORT Bet. We've got loads of welcome offers. Bet 10, get 40. You go to talksportbet.com/Inside Devils just for you guys.